Hey guys, for the last 6 months or so, I've been using this really cool Anki plugin and I just decided to make this video and talk about it. So basically what this plugin can do is very similar to what the subs2srs program does, but the difference is that this plugin can play the video and audio directly from the original media files on your hard drive. So this means that you don't have to convert anything and wait for those files to convert and then store them on your hard drive, which would occupy additional space, and generally that's a bit of a hassle. And so with this plugin you can do all of this, like create subs2srs style decks directly in Anki without having to use any external program and without having to convert anything. And so I first found out about this plugin when I was using for an alternative to use on a Mac. Basically, subs2srs officially has only a Windows version and there is no Mac version. There is this program that allows to run Windows programs on a Mac, which is called Wine. And when I tried to use it to run subs2srs on my computer, it didn't work, unfortunately. But actually, a couple of days ago, I found a way because someone sent me a tutorial showing how to do this. And so that's cool, and I'll link that tutorial in the description. But basically, I still really like this plugin because of what I just mentioned, because of like the advantages that it has to subs2srs. And so let's get straight into it. Let's go over to the computer and see how we can set it up and how we can learn to use it. Okay, so here we are at the Anki web page for this plugin, and basically let's first go through the installation procedure, because you need to do a couple of more things that you would normally need to do if you're installing an Anki plugin. And so the first step is, as usual, you need to copy this number and go over to Anki and go to the Tools menu, Add-ons, and Browse and Install, and then you get this window, and then you need to paste this code into this field, and then you click OK. I'm not going to click OK because I already have it installed, but basically after you click OK, you need to restart Anki for the changes to take effect. And I'm going to close this window for now, and I'm going to go back to this page. Now there's one thing that I wanted to briefly touch on, and that is that this plugin currently supports only Anki 2.0. and there is no Anki 2.1 version. But basically, even if you are running Anki 2.1, I would really encourage you to watch this tutorial to the end, because I think that this is a really great plugin. And basically, if you happen to know Python, and or maybe if you know someone who knows Python, I'd really like it'd be really great if someone who could help and to port this plugin to Anki 2.1, because I think that this is a really great tool and it could benefit lots of language learners. So let's now go ahead and install the mpv player. mpv player is just an open source video player that is necessary for this plugin to work, and we can download it from this page, mpv.io, and we need to go here to installation. Then we need to click this link, and we need to download the latest version by clicking here. So let's do this, save the file, and if we open it in Finder, or now we can extract it by double clicking. And here we have the app. So now you can just drag it over to the applications folder like you usually do. But I'm not going to do that because I already have it there. And I'll just go ahead and delete these because I don't need them anymore. And okay, let's go over to the applications folder, and here we have the app. And so there's one more thing that we need to do to make this app work with the plugin. We need to right-click this app, and we need to go to Show Package Contents. And then we need to go to this folder Contents, then macOS, and we need this file, mpv. And so basically what we need to do is we need to create a link to this file for the plugin to be able to reach this player and be able to basically do what it needs to do. And so in order to create this link, we need to open up the terminal. And if you've never used terminal before, don't worry, there's nothing complicated here. It's just one command, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. So you need to press Command space, and that will bring up the Spotlight search, and then you need to start typing terminal. And once you find the app, you click enter, and here we have the terminal window. Now in this window we need to type in the following: ln space -s space, and then you need to drag this file directly onto the terminal window. And if you do that, that'll paste the path to this file into the terminal. So now that we've done that, we also need to type in the following. Make sure that you have the space after this path. It inserts it automatically, but just make sure that you don't accidentally delete it, for example. So there needs to be space, and let's see. Now you need to type the following: /usr/local/bin/mpv. So, and then you just press enter. And for me it says file exists. That's because I already have that link in place, but for you it's not going to say anything. Hey, Future Alex here. I've just realized that I forgot something while editing this video. So if you enter the command the way that I was describing it, you'll most likely be told that you don't have permissions to write to that directory. And so to fix that, you need to enter sudo followed by the command. And then once you hit enter, you'll be asked for your user password. That's just the password that you use to log into your system. And then once you hit enter again, the command will work. And you can check if it worked by typing which mpv. And if we now press enter, it'll show us the path where this mpv player is located. So if it shows you this path, this exact path that we typed here at the end of this command, then everything is worked correctly. So now we can close the terminal, and we don't need this window either. And we can go over to Anki and check out how this plugin works. So this is just an empty Anki profile that I created for the purposes of this demonstration. And over here on my desktop, I have a couple of video files with subtitles. And these are just random free video files that I downloaded from the internet. So let's go ahead and open one up and see how it looks.
Jag har tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att man som historielärare måste vara duktig på Wikipedia och förstå hur det funkar. För att det är den viktigaste källan till historisk kunskap för de allra flesta.
Okay, so this is just a normal video file with subtitles. Nothing too exotic here. I'll go ahead and close this player, and let's now go back to Anki. So once we install the plugin, over here in the Tools menu, we'll get these two new menu entries: Generate Video Cards and Generate Mobile Cards. I'll get to the mobile cards in a second. Let's now go ahead and click Generate Video Cards. And we'll get this window. So let's click on this button Video and select the file that we want to import and click Open. So if the name of the subtitle file is the same as the name of the video file, it'll just populate this subtitle field automatically for you. And you can also select a second subtitle file if you want. That's for things like translations, for example. I personally don't tend to use this very often, but I suppose sometimes it can be useful. So let's now just go ahead and click Go, and we see that very quickly a new deck has been created. So let's close these windows, and let's first take a look at this deck in the browser. So we see that this deck contains 101 cards, and if we take a look at this subtitle file from which this deck has been created, we see that this file consists of these lines, each of which has two time codes attached to it, one for the start of the line and the second one for the end of the line, and each line also has a number attached to it. And so if we scroll all the way down to the end of this subtitle file, we'll see that this file contains 101 lines, and that's exactly the number of cards that has been created. So what this plugin did is it created a card for each individual line of that subtitle file. So that's very nice. Let's now go ahead and close this browser and just start reviewing this deck to see what it's like.
Jag har tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att
Alright, so it just played us a fragment of that video, and it played that fragment directly from this video file on my desktop. So if I now go ahead and press space,
jag har tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att
we'll see the back of the card, and here we see the line itself, and it has also played us the audio. But before we start messing around with these cards, I wanted to show you something first real quick, because this can be quite important. So I'll go ahead and open up the browser and take a look at this field called path. So in this field we see the path to the video file. And the reason that this is important is because basically if you ever move this file to a different folder, or if you rename the file itself, then you'll need to update this path. And the way you can do this for multiple cards at the same time is basically, I'll go ahead and copy this path first, and then I'll go to the deck that we've created, and I'll select all the cards in it by pressing Command A, and then I'll go to the Edit menu, and I'll select Search and Replace, and I'll go ahead and paste this path to this first field called Search, and let's say we moved this file to a different folder. So that means that this part of the path before the file name will change. And that's the only thing that we need to change if we move it to a different folder. So we don't need the file name itself. And let's now replace this part of the path with the new path. I'll just for the sake of this example, I'll go ahead and type in new path like this. And I'll also go ahead and choose the field path over here. And now I can click OK. And we can see that 101 cards have been updated. And if we now take a look at one of those cards, we'll see that now our path has changed. And I've modified the part that is before the file name, which refers to a particular folder on your computer. And basically the way that you can get this path to a folder or to a file, like let's say this is a folder, you can right-click the folder and then press the Option key, and then you can select this option. It says copy this folder as path name, and that's how you can get the path. So if I copy this and I just paste it, here's that path. And you can do the same for a file. So let's say maybe I renamed this file, maybe I moved it to a different place. So I can right click it, press the Option key, and select this, copy this file as path name, and just click it, and then we get the path to this file. So I'll go ahead and undo what we just did with the search and replace function, because I want our cards to still work, obviously, and I've just changed the path so they wouldn't work if I left it as it is. Alright, so we've undone our changes, and let's now go back to our card.
Jag har tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att Jag har tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att
Alright, so it played us the video on the front of the card, and on the back of the card we have the line from the subtitle file, and it has also played us the audio. But let's say we wanted to join this card with the next one, because this sentence is incomplete, and it would be really nice to have a complete sentence on the card. So we can do that by using these keyboard shortcuts. So this group of shortcuts is useful for doing this type of thing, and for our particular situation we need this one. So I'll go ahead and press that key combination.
Jag har tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att man som historielärare måste vara duktig på Wikipedia.
Alright, so now it played us a longer fragment of the video, and if we go ahead and press space to see the back of the card.
Jag har tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att man som historielärare måste vara duktig på Wikipedia.
We can now see that it has joined this first line, which was this part, with the second line from the subtitle file. And actually, if we look at, let's delete this, we don't need this anymore. And if we look at the subtitle file itself, we'll see that this is the first line and this is the second line. So what it did, it joined these two lines together. So that's nice, but when the video was playing, I also noticed that this word cut off before the guy finished saying it. And it'd be nice to be able to adjust that ending point of that particular video fragment in this card. And so for that purpose, there's this group of shortcuts, and for our particular scenario, we need this one. So I'll go ahead and press that.
Självklart att man som historielärare måste vara duktig på Wikipedia.
Alright, so now we can hear the word in its entirety. And if we now press E for a second to take a look at this card's fields, we'll see that the timecodes in this first field are different from the timecodes in these two fields. And the reason for that is that this first field stores the timecodes, stores the original timecodes from the subtitle file. And these two fields store the timecodes that are used to play that specific fragment of video or audio back to you in Anki. And so since we adjusted this final point, so it's different from the original now. And if you ever want to revert the changes, you can simply copy these timecodes from the first field into both of these fields. There's also supposed to be a shortcut to do this exact same thing, but for some reason that shortcut doesn't work on my system. And so I just decided to show you how to do it manually if you need to. So now I also wanted to show you how you can import multiple video files at the same time with this plugin, which can be really useful. So for that, I'll go ahead and close this, and I'll go here to the main screen, and I'll click Generate Video Cards again. And so here on my desktop, I have two video files. I'll go ahead and select the same one we were importing the first time, and I'll go ahead and click Open. And in order to import multiple files, the first thing that you need to make sure is that your subtitle files have the same names as the respective video files, so that the plugin can find them correctly. And so then you just go ahead and select one of the files in the folder where all of your properly named video files and subtitles files are located. And once you've selected that one file, like we just did here, you just go ahead and replace the name of that file with an asterisk in both of these fields. And I'll go ahead and give this deck a different name, like 2 videos, for example. And I'll just go ahead and click Go. And we get this window here where we can check if all of the files have been paired correctly. So I can see here that everything's correct, and I'll go ahead and click OK. And we see that the new deck has been created. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in the browser. And here's this deck. So here's a card for one file, and if we scroll all the way down, here's a card for the other file. So we successfully imported both files at the same time. This is very nice, very convenient. You can import multiple files at the same time very quickly. Now, there's one more thing that is useful to know when it comes to importing files with this plugin. And I'll just go ahead and open up the Generate Video Cards window again, and I'll select the same file that we were using before. So here at the bottom of this window, we have this model menu. And basically what this allows you to do is if you select either one of these two models, I'll explain the differences in a second, but if you select just one of them and then click go, it'll generate images for each card that it creates. So it sort of tries to emulate the style of cards that a subs2srs program creates. And let's go ahead and take a look what it does. So I'll just go ahead and call this deck with images, and I'll go ahead and click go. So it took 59 seconds to generate those images, and I'll go ahead and close these, and let's take a look at the deck.
Jag har tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att
Alright, so it generated an image, and we see the line here as well, and if we press space, then you get nothing. And the reason for that is that basically you have to put something in this notes field, and then you
jag har
get,
tänkt så här väldigt länge att det är självklart att
and then you can see like the answer to this card. But obviously you can configure this the way you want, and the main point of this is to generate images for all of your cards. Now there was also this other option in that model menu called subs2srs video. So we've just used this one, and there's also this video model. And the only difference between these two is that this one will play video instead of the audio on the front of the card. So we also saw that there was this option to generate mobile cards, but unfortunately I couldn't get this one to work on my system. So if I click this, I get this error, and then there's this progress bar that doesn't move and nothing happens. So what this option is supposed to be doing is it's supposed to be generating media so that you could review your cards generated by this plugin on mobile as well. So you could use the original files to play and review the cards on your computer, but when you're reviewing on mobile, you could use those generated media files. So it would be quite a nice option to have, but unfortunately I couldn't get this to work, and I couldn't find any information online as to how to fix this either. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know. It'll be quite a nice option to have. This plugin also has a couple of options that can only be changed by editing the configuration file, and those can be quite useful, so I decided to show you how to do this as well. So first we need to find that configuration file on our computer, and in order to do that I'll go over to this Anki manual page and copy this path to the folder where Anki stores all of its data. So I'll post this path in the description to this video as well. So I'll go back over here and I'll open up a Finder window. And now you can click this menu, Go, and select Go to Folder, or you can press Shift-Command-G, and this dialog window will pop up. And here you can paste the path from the Anki manual page. I'll go ahead and paste it and click Go. And now we're in the Anki data folder. So now we need to go into this folder, add-ons, then movies2anki, and here we have the configuration file. You can edit this file with the default text editor, and if it doesn't open this file in that text editor by default, like if you double click the file, you can right click it, go to open with, then other, and then just find the text editor app over here, and then click open, and here you are. Here you have the file, and you can edit it in this text editor. I have it open in a different text editor though, because the text is a bit clearer here, so I'll just go ahead and use this one. So what I wanted to talk about was these four options. So this first one says join lines that end with. And what this does is basically you can tell the plugin to look for a certain symbol at the end of the line, and if that symbol is there, you can tell it to join that line with the next one. So to make this clearer, let me just open up this subtitle file in the text editor, and we'll use that as an example. So let's say that perhaps the creator of this subtitle file used a certain symbol consistently to show that this sentence isn't over and it continues on the next line. And so if they did that, now we can use this symbol to tell the plugin that these two lines are a single sentence, and we can tell the plugin to join those two lines into a single card. So this can be useful for some subtitle files that would have this kind of thing where the creators use a certain symbol to show that this sentence continues on the next line. And for example, I noticed that certain Japanese subtitles would use this particular symbol, this arrow, to show that this sentence continues on the next line. And I put this code for this symbol over here, and now this plugin can join those cards automatically for me. Now, what these two options do is quite similar, but not exactly the same. So this first one defines the symbol that will be inserted between the lines that were joined by using this option, this first option that we just talked about. And the second one defines the symbol that will be inserted between the two lines that were joined manually by using one of these shortcuts. And so earlier in this video, I used one of these shortcuts to join the two cards. So let's take a look at that joined card for a second. Here it is. So this was the first line, and this was the second line, and they were joined with a space. So this is how these two options work. So they define the symbol that will be put between two lines. And here it says underscore, but in this particular configuration file, an underscore means space. So if you want them to be joined with a space, then you need to put an underscore here. And by default, it says here, it says this here. And this stands for a line break. So if I left it at the default setting, what it would do is it would put those two lines on two separate lines. So it would be like this. But I like it better with the space. I like to have it on a single line, so I have it set to a space, like this. And finally, what this last option does is it says here, join questions with answers. So basically, this one looks for sentences that end in question marks. Like, for example, let's say there was a question mark here. And if this is set to true, then it joins those cards with or those lines with the next line. And so the idea here is that the questions and answers would be on a single card. So like how are you doing? I'm doing fine. And like if those were two separate lines in the subtitle file, then it would see, the first one ends with a question mark, so I have to join it with the next one, and then you would get a card that has a question and an answer all together. But I personally find that this often joins cards that I don't want it to join, and you can always do it manually later, and so I just keep it at false. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was how you can configure this video player window that pops up while you're reviewing your cards to look exactly the way you want it to look. So if I just start reviewing this deck, I get this video player window. And right now it covers the entire Anki window, but it does so because I configured it this way. And you can define, or you can configure it exactly the way you want it to appear, like whatever size you want, and also you can tell it to appear at a specific location on your screen as well. And so in order to do that, we need to edit another configuration file. And so we need to find it on our computer, and in order to do that, we'll go over to this mpv player manual page, and here they have this path to that configuration file that we need. So I'll just go ahead and copy this. I'll also post this in the description to this video, and I'll go ahead, I'll go to Finder, I'll press Shift-Command-G, and I'll paste this path into this dialog window, and I'll press Go, and here I have this file. Now I'm not sure if this file gets created by default once you launch the MPV player on your Mac or on your computer, whatever the operating system is. So basically, if you go to this location and the player or the file is in here, then you'll need to create a new text file at this exact location, and then it will work. So I already have this file open in my text editor, and this is how it looks right now. This is just a bunch of configurations that I made for myself, but yours, if it is there by default, yours will be just empty. And so out of all of these options, I'll just want to direct your attention to this one, geometry. Now, first of all, you can find on this manual page, you can find information about this this option, which will show you the exact way you can use it, or that you can configure it. So basically, to find it on this manual page, you go to this link, and the link that I'll post in the description, and then you'll need to search for geometry equals, and then you'll find this section which describes how you can define the position and the size of the player in the very precise way. But to explain it really briefly, this number stands for the width of the player, this one stands for the height of the player, and these two stand for define the position of the player on the screen, and they specifically refer to the upper left corner of the video player window. So this is it for this tutorial. Overall, I think this is a really great plugin because it allows you to create those decks very quickly and efficiently directly in Anki without having to use any external programs. And it also doesn't require you to convert any files and like first wait for those files to convert and then having to store them on your hard drive, like them eating up space, and like all of that usually becomes a bit of a hassle, like managing those converted files. But with this plugin, none of that is necessary, and also the cards that it creates are very, first of all, easy to create, and second of all, very nice to review as well, because you can learn the word in the exact context that you saw it in first, and then when you're reviewing, you can see that video fragment, and all of that together makes for a very nice, very pleasant reviewing experience. And so I think this is a really great tool, but unfortunately, currently it has a couple of problems as we saw. And the main problem is that it currently only supports Anki 2.0, and there is no Anki 2.1 version. And basically, I think that it would be really great if someone out there who knows Python could take a look and try to figure out if it's possible to port this add-on to Anki 2.1, because I think it's a really great tool and it could benefit lots of language learners. And so this is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I really hope it was useful, and I'll see you in the next one.